I was like, fine. So then I went back, like stomped off, sulked a bit, as you do, because you're
Yeah.
like, I thought I'd really done it, and then actually changed the way that the architecture would work. So he brings that to the table. It's like, think it through. How are you going to really? How is this going to work?
Yeah.
So he's got that, like everything's a workflow in his mind, and the typical COO, like yes, no,
Yeah.
like this is going to work, that won't work, that
Yeah.
sort of.
The let's say the implementation part of it.
Yeah, it's just like these are challenges that we're going to see. This is where it's going to end up costing us a fortune, or it's going to cost the organization a fortune. Okay, that's not going to work. So he came with that, and I came with the tech and my know-how, and working with large organizers, working with enterprise software, how to
Mm.
actually uh, create a technical solution to deal with some of these challenges that we've got. So CTO, it was always on the cards for me.
Welcome to Women Disrupting Tech. My name is Dirk Jan Hupkes, and on this podcast I give the women who work in tech the platform they need to inspire and empower each other. Join me on a journey into the world of entrepreneurship, funding, biases and role models to discover the strategies for success in the tech industry. In other words, how women can disrupt tech. Are you ready to listen? Hey, welcome back to Women Disrupting Tech. Thank you for listening to episode 59. Ask any tech person, risk manager, or COO at a multinational company, and they'll tell you that data protection is a big, hairy problem. They have to deal with multiple rule sets, systems that require changes, and along with that come the inevitable budget cuts and reorganizations. Now, back in episode 50, Martine van der Gaar and I talked about how companies can share large data sets with each other without breaching privacy regulations. And today's episode is about a company that takes this process one step further. Because Sonal Rattan of eXate is my guest to explain how companies that operate in multiple countries can allow their data to flow across borders while at the same time ensuring compliance with data protection, privacy, and security regulations. Sonal is the Chief Technology Officer of eXate, and with that, she's the first CTO of a startup on this show. We talk about setting up a tech company from your kitchen table, how a diverse team helps you build a privacy powerhouse, and of course, we discuss how we can get more female CTOs, not just on the show, but in the tech ecosystem. Plus, you'll hear how Sonal's daughter, who initially hated computer science, now wants to be in AI. So, when you're ready to listen and learn how to make data protection bite size, please welcome to Women Disrupting Tech, Sonal Rattan. Hey, good morning, Sonal. Great to have you. Question I always ask at the start is how you got into your current job or current position, and start wherever you want.
Hi, thanks for having me. So I'm Sonal. I'm one of the co-founders and the CTO for eXate. So prior to setting up eXate, my career was all software engineering and leading teams of software engineers and data scientists. And I spent a lot of my career in banking, but I have
Mm-hmm.
worked in other industries as well. Um, I had some notable roles. I supported the management office for the markets division for HSBC. And as a part of that role, I had so many different variants of hair on fire moments, but ended up having quite a few different issues around data and what I can do with data and how I can
Yeah.
share data, etc. Were at the beginning that GDPR hadn't kicked in at that point, but I did 2 years of corporate and institutional digital as well, and as
Mm-hmm.
a part of that, I had I ended up helping some of the tech side for a multi-billion-dollar program, which just ended up getting stalled. We were like very, very ambitious as a team for the corporate and institutional digital side that wanted to run and like, go on the cloud and do all of modernize applications, etc. But
Mm-hmm.
every single project was taken as about 233 man days, which ended up which is actually taking slightly longer now, but all things with GDPR and different countries' regulations and not being able to store data in different jurisdictions ended up causing a huge problem, which
Hmm.
I didn't feel was actually my problem to solve. I thought the bank should have actually dealt with it. And this is something that's such a common thing for every single project. Why wasn't
Yeah.
it dealt with centrally? Went out to market to try and find a solution. Didn't find anything, and so ended up setting up eXate. So
Yeah.
eXate is a company that so we sit at the intersection of four things: data privacy, so rights of an individual, contractual clauses,
Hmm.
data residency, so like things like where data can reside. But we've got a distributed system that we're able to do different data protection within different jurisdictions.
Hmm.
We've got data protection, so we've aggregated multiple privacy enhancing techniques into one platform. And then finally, fine grained access control. So it is attribute based, context driven, consent driven access. All of those things are put together to say, am I allowed to actually process this data? So that's a bit of why I set up what X8 and where it actually came from.
Yeah, that's it sounds incredibly complex. I can say for myself that this is indeed something that I experienced while working at ING and NN, sharing data even in the same country across to other business units was a problem
Yeah.
because there was consent involved, especially at when we started GDPR, but even before that, by the way. So how do you make such a well if there's ever a b hack solving this problem, this is pretty much what you do is pretty much it. How do you uncomplex this? How do you take make this bite size?
So what we've done is we've targeted common data distribution and ingestion points. And the reason we've done that is we don't believe that the teams should be integrating this into every single application because it just wouldn't get done. I
Mm-hmm.
remember in my corporate career, every time we had something that needed to be done from a management office perspective,
Mm-hmm.
we asked the teams, "Can you put this in your system?" They were like, "What do you want me to drop?" Like
Yeah.
it literally was that we've got so many. We've got with cost that from a cost perspective, we don't have enough people. We've got work wise, we've got too much work, and all of it's regulatory. So what shall we drop to do what you want us to do? And
Yeah.
we always had that friction. So what we've done is we've spent about 5 years building it so it's as simple as possible and
Mm-hmm.
be able to the right people can be able to define the rules. Data protection shouldn't be something that every single team needs to understand. They shouldn't have to understand what uh, key management system they should be using from an encryption perspective. All
Mm-hmm.
of those things are complex and it's more stuff for teams to do who are already overstretched.
Yeah.
So for us it was create something that just can automatically do it. So we've got a fair bit of artificial intelligence in our application as well that can help classify and be able to work out what information is sensitive, especially PII type data, which is like the
Yeah.
most common obvious thing for us to protect.
So MPII for context is personally identifiable information.
That's right. Sorry, I live
Yeah.
in acronym land. So yes, it is all to do with personal information,
Yeah.
things, name, social security number, things that that can identify an individual.
Yeah.
Those are the obvious ones for our tech to be able to say, well, we can see that you've got some sort of customer data in here. Shall we protect it for you?
Mm-hmm.
And so by giving those pointers, I think we are looking to actually reduce some of that complexity. But what's actually happening with the teams on the ground, they're having to do this work anyway, but it's all manual.
Yeah.
Everyone is doing it. So like there's a big form to fill out what personal information or what financial information and it's a tick box exercise at the moment.
Yeah.
But this is that next level where you can actually start doing stuff and actually breaking that cycle where it takes a year to be able to go through this first before your project can really kick off.
Yeah. So is it sort of a shell that is built or that is underlying, let's say, the regular infrastructure of a company, be that an insurance company or a bank?
Yeah, so it's been designed to be a central system
Yeah.
that allows you to. It does, as I said, it does a few things. It will allow you to define policies on what you can and can't do with data, where you can do it, what
Hmm.
reasons you're going to. So an access policy around why can you actually see it and where can you do it. We've got, again,
Ah.
all of the data protection techniques that sit in our shell, I guess, and we are deployed as a part of uh, a system called Kubernetes, which acts as
Hmm.
sits alongside your infrastructure, which helps scaling, etc.
Yeah.
So we're able to be injected in multiple different ways to again mean that you don't have to make any code changes. Such as API gateways, we can just
Yeah.
sit within gateways, see what traffic's coming in and out, and say, actually, we're going to block this and we're going to let this go through, just so you don't have to make any changes to your applications. We don't care what your backends look like. We don't care any of those side of things. But what we do care about is where is it going and is it lawful?
So it's purely functioning as a sort of filter for data
That's
to let data sit and then be protected or move from location A to B or from application A to B, and then only for the part that is really A necessary and B also allowed to move. Not
exactly.
and from both a business and let's say privacy and security perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. That is exactly what it is. So we tend to work more with global organizations that
Hmm.
have got operations in multiple jurisdictions.
Yeah.
So a good example is we're doing work with a international private bank. They've got a Switzerland have said encryption keys must reside within Switzerland, but we'll
Uh-huh.
let you put your data on your European data center. So that's what the Swiss regulators have actually said
Ah.
we're okay with. Before it was you can't even take it out the country. This is again the advancement in what regulators are saying you can potentially do. So what we do is we do that essentially with that traffic cop. So you
Yeah.
can go this data needs to go to Switzerland, this data goes to so we've got a service that sits in Switzerland that does the encryption and decryption, and then it can, depending on what the rules say, we can actually use that data for and what the regulators have said we're happy for you to do, and then
Hmm.
that data is able to be used. Otherwise, it's filtered out because it's not available for that context. But it means that you can behave in this global environment,
Hmm.
but really you're doing what's required from a data perspective and
Yeah.
keeping it within jurisdiction. So it's a mechanism to be able to help do that. But where we're taking it, so we're working with the likes of Red Hat today,
Hmm.
who have amazing tech with the way that they can do hybrid clusters across multiple clouds, multiple jurisdictions,
Hmm.
and the R&D type of work that we're doing there. And we are looking to change the industry in the way that these data residency things are becoming more and more prevalent. So
Yeah.
how do we actually change the industry that say, well, actually historically everything has been move data where it needs to go to, store it somewhere, do something.
Hmm.
And it's that data mesh way of looking at the world,
Yeah.
which is move the compute, not the data. So we're actually saying, well, how do we actually orchestrate compute moving to the places as opposed to the data moving? So right now we're doing it with data. The future state is going to be actually we're going to just move the compute, and the compute is the cheapest part. That is the cheapest component. To be fair,
Yeah.
moving
So
data
the
is
and
expensive.
and the compute part is the purely the processing.
Purely
Then
the processing. So if the data
okay.
is already there, how do we actually create that the infrastructure to be able to it is a newer way of thinking of it, but how do we
Yeah.
keep the data that needs to be where it needs to be, but the application is the thing that changes, and that
Yeah.
impacts license fees, etc. You can deploy something once and use it many, and that's going to be it will be a game changer for the industry because it's going to be more efficient. Testing processes going to be more efficient, development processes, deployment processes, having less teams maintain it. It
Hmm.
will change, and it will make software cheaper to run.
Yeah. On that point, I was actually wondering because if I remember correctly, initially the solution started as a sort of how do I uh, protect or how do I create sort of a data set for testing purposes that is, yeah, for lack of a better word, almost or contains production like data, which is sort of the gold if you are testing software. How did you move? Was that just a building block that you were that you needed to have towards a bigger vision, or did you pivot along the way?
It was a building block. So for us, data protection is data protection. So we don't care where we're going to.
Hmm.
We know we need to move data from one place to the other. So moving data in a masked form, which is one of our aggregation of privacy techniques, or as synthetic data, or as
Hmm.
um, pseudonymized data or encrypted data. For us, it's one call, and that's what the system's been designed to do because things are always evolving and changing. Some jurisdictions have completely different algorithms for encryption that you can only use that type as opposed to some other type that you might be used to using. Let's say
Hmm.
AES encryption. Russia has a completely different mechanism because if, as we all know, most like government agencies can they've got some degree of tech that can break encryption. So
Yeah,
they've got other techniques that they prefer you to use. So it's just yeah, for us, we know that we had to build all of these techniques into it, and they're going to change. So encryption standards change as soon as you've got another mechanism that's okay. Now that's going to be breakable within X time. It's going to
hmm,
change again. So
yeah,
NIST principles are coming out now to say, well, how are we going to actually deal with quantum computing right now? So that is there. It's a reality. It's coming.
yeah,
Quantum safe encryption is going to be the next way to be able to encrypt data. So we needed that mechanism. So knowing that was coming, we built the system like that. But it meant that we were able to industrialize our product with the likes of ING on
yeah,
less uh, critical flows, I guess it was. So it was moving data from a production environment to a non-production environment
yeah,
in a mechanism that their risk people will sign off on, and having all of that audit and the governance around it. So that
yeah.
there were a lot of things that we had to build before we are going to really be able to do stuff on actually trafficking, like doing all the data stuff in production environment. So it's taken us 5 years to get to where we
Yeah.
are now.
Because it's I can imagine it's also complex in not only in the sense of the product itself, but also because like large banks like ING and UBS and HSBC, they require you to use, well, let's say reputable firms or have reputable technology in place. Yet you're really on the innovative side of things. How do you get an access into these organizations? And yeah.
So I think with ING, it was very, very unique because
Mm,
we've got an exceptional relationship with ING. Um, we started off in their labs, so we went in. Yeah, a humble startup went in, had an
mm,
MVP, and went into their labs to actually solve a problem that we know that they had, and what I had in my corporate career as well.
mm,
And yeah, we got moved from a small division all the way up the chain, but along the way, as they decided to pick our technology, um, we also partnered with them. So they were an investor in our company as well. So
mm,
it's it wasn't a case of just doing something. Um, my background as well, I did software, enterprise software for 20 years of my career before I actually did this.
yeah.
And I was writing software and doing software for many organizations. I worked with HSBC, UBS,
Mm,
Mizuho, and I wrote software that went into production for all of those. And I led teams that put this stuff out there. So that comes with it as well. And my co-founder was the COO for the markets division, and it was the COO for digital transformation. Or yeah, we come with a certain pedigree as well in terms of what we're actually building.
yeah.
But banks are more open to working with innovative companies as well.
Yeah.
There's no point doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. I think
No.
they've woken up to that to say, actually, let's try something different. But again, they didn't roll us out. We're getting rolled out now after they worked with us for 3 years. and made sure that it had every single thing that they needed,
Hmm.
and then we're ready to go with it. Again, so it's not as straightforward as just saying, okay, they bought us and they put us in and we're running everywhere. It didn't work like that.
No, no. Also because they're yeah, they want you to use because you're partnering with IBM, I think.
That's right. Yes. So so again, so now our technology is running, and our technology is fast. It does so many different things that can help everyday data privacy challenges.
Uh-huh.
And it's designed to with that flexibility in mind. So we don't know necessarily what's going to happen 9 months down the line. So we
Hmm.
built it with that view in
Yeah,
mind that this is an evolving landscape, and you need software to do. Otherwise, if you're doing it in your applications, you're going to have to change your applications
yeah.
continuously, and you won't get out that loop. So from that perspective, it's all been, thought through to say, well, how do we actually take all of these things and bring them together to be able to allow organizations to actually get out of that spiral, that constant loop that they can't get out of.
Hmm. I want to shift gears a bit
Sure.
because you have a background in banking and now you're a CTO. How how did that journey go?
So in banking, I was essentially running, like I was running tech teams
Yeah.
anyway. The idea to actually come up with this was because I was highly ambitious within
Mm-hmm.
the industry as well. I wanted to make change. It was
Mm-hmm.
really difficult to make change within an organization because that, yeah,
Yeah.
as you're fully aware, uh, and to make that shift, it was a case of just thinking, how am I going to, how would I solve this if if I could be outside and I had free reign and I could pick what technologies I wanted,
Yeah.
etc. for it, because it's a hairy problem. It's not a
Yeah.
small thing that I'm going to build a small app and I'm going to like deploy something. This is I want to change the way that we look at data and how we're going to do it, because there are so many things that we want to do, and we want to run with AI, we want to run with like building applications. I wanted to build something that actually helps people that were in my position that wanted to make change but were getting stuck in this red tape
Yeah.
that was like data control, I guess,
And
to be able.
seemingly impossible or problems to solve, because that was also always what I was told. Yeah, we just can't solve this.
Yeah, it's a barrier to, like,
Yeah.
in most common, it's a barrier to entry to be able to innovate and
Yeah.
do those things, because it costs so much money to do it. We know it's going to take 1 year of one person's time, you're out the gate, you're already X done. And then but then you've got to put technology in different places to
Yeah.
actually solve it, and it makes sense to try and run it in multiple locations if you to get the most out of it. How do you do all of those things when
Mm.
you've got a small budget? Because everyone's always going through cost cutting, so budgets are always getting cut. So
Yeah.
how do you actually do this, and how do you show that you've done something while you've been at work?
Yeah.
That we were the people that wanted to deliver, and we wanted to make change in banks, and we've just taken that a little bit further to say, well, how do we actually take a problem? There's lots
Mm.
of different things. There's so many different things within an organization that you've got controls over,
Mm.
but
There-
data was probably the one that took us the longest.
yeah, I can imagine. Did did you decide with your co-founder on purpose that you would be the CTO, or
Yeah, he's not technical, so
oh
he was the COO. So he's business, and I'm tech, and that's how it works. So he's the CEO,
yeah.
I'm the CTO, because like to architect it, to develop it, I wrote the first few iterations of our technology when we first started. Um, and so we would sit around my kitchen table at
Uh-huh.
my when we were like nights and weekends to actually understand how do we actually put this concept in a way that we can start actually showing it and speaking to people about, is this something that you're facing too, and how are these challenges impacting them.
Mm-hmm.
And so what would end up happening is that he would say, actually, this won't work, because if you told me. So one of the things I did to start with was I wrote a solution that you would have to make some code changes to your application for.
Mhm.
And I was like, I've done it, I've solved it, I'm amazing. Whatever
Mhm.
you feel like when you like wrote software that works.
Yeah.
You have that eureka moment.
Yeah.
And we ended up I ended up falling out with my co-founder at the time, because I just thought, how can you not be so excited about, I've just done this? He goes, it ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna work. And it literally was like,
Mhm.
don't give me a problem, tell me the solution. It was like one of those sort of
Yeah.
moments.
Yeah.
But he was like, if you came to me as a COO, he had like 90 trading systems that he
Mhm.
like, and he had like to manage that from that side.
Mhm.
And you told me that I need to make code changes into my systems, I would have told you to get out of my office. And I was like, fair, okay. It said, if these are the things you're gonna need it in a way that I don't have to make code changes. If I'm gonna try and do this and implement this as an organization wide or a department wide something,
Mhm.
it needs to be. It, I'm not going to be able to get my people to actually my teams to be able to change their software. I was like, fine. So then I went back, like stomped off, sulked a bit, as you do, because you're
Yeah.
like, I thought I'd really done it, and then actually changed the way that the architecture would work. So he brings that to the table. It's like, think it through. How are you going to really? How is this going to work?
Yeah.
So he's got that, like everything's a workflow in his mind, and the typical COO, like yes, no,
Yeah.
like this is going to work, that won't work, that
Yeah.
sort of.
The let's say the implementation part of it.
Yeah, it's just like these are challenges that we're going to see. This is where it's going to end up costing us a fortune, or it's going to cost the organization a fortune. Okay, that's not going to work. So he came with that, and I came with the tech and my know-how, and working with large organizers, working with enterprise software, how to
Mhm.
actually create a technical solution to deal with some of these challenges that we've got. So CTO, it was always on the cards for me.
Okay. Well, that's good because you're the first CTO, female CTO anyway, to be on the podcast. So,
Oh, great. Hopefully,
which
many
also
more.
makes you the first CTO because so far I've only been talking to women.
Yes.
Um,
Hopefully, there'll be many more to come. So, like
yeah.
initiatives like this are to say, yeah, women are in tech. Okay, they're not as many, but there should be more for sure.
Oh, definitely. I want to park that for a minute and before I ask you about that, because like you, I'm really passionate about getting more women into tech. One of the things that I know for if you are attracting funding is that once you have a woman on the board, your chances of funding go down. What has uh, two questions? One, who has done the pitching towards investors? That was you or your co-founder or together?
So, this is something that we did have quite a lot of conversations about. So we initially started going, both of us, to pitch the idea to get some funding,
Hmm.
and yeah, it's really difficult. It's
Yeah.
difficult for founders in general. It's a
Hmm.
unless you're like you've done multiple companies, there it's very few, unless you're like some kid out of Stanford. It just feels like it feels like it's a really difficult task, full stop. But
Yeah.
I did start getting paranoid, thinking, knowing what the numbers look like for women, is it better? Are we better off just sending Peter, my co-founder,
Yeah.
send him to do the pitches and make some like techie, whatever it is? I thought, and I just stay out of it. It's very common for CEOs just to do the funding side of it, and
Hmm.
I don't need to be involved in that side of it. And so my co-founder, he's really, again, really super supportive, and he was he just thought, we don't want their funding if it's going to be like that. We just don't want it. If people can't see what you and I bring to the table, because we are the team that are
Yeah.
building this and putting this together, and we're trying to solve this problem, because they're not right for us. Let's not even go there. So, and yeah, that gave me the, like, actually, why am I even thinking like that? How are you going to drive change if you don't do something about it?
Yeah.
So we both go together and we both pitch. So I will take the technical parts. He will always do the main introduction side of it, and we do it together. And it's like we've partnered to do this, And if they don't understand that as what we're doing as a company, because we don't want them.
Okay. Any how do they generally respond to the fact that you're the technical quote unquote girl, not the technical guy?
Um, I to
I
be
mean,
fair,
you have your of course you have a lot of history, and you've there's a lot in your on your resume that speaks for you. But I've had a couple of founders on my podcast who told me, well, we'd like to talk to your IT guy or to your tech guy.
yeah,
So
I
they
am the.
believe them, but
No, I don't. I think most people recognize it as soon as I start talking, and I talk quite a bit, as you can see. Um, but that I'm quite technical, so I don't tend to have a lot of that. But again, my CPO and my CIO, they're both men. And when we're together, we say if we're solving problems together, it just depends on who's the expert on what part of it. So our
mhm,
CPO, he understands gateways and APIs and that the data in motion side, super passionate about that side of
yeah,
it. So he tends to drive those conversations from that side. But when we're but overall, to be fair, like the tech industry is so open to women. I won't say that I've had like bad experiences in that where people have spoken to me and said, "Yeah, where's your tech guy?" I've not experienced that.
yeah,
Might just be, I don't know. I might have a. I can't even explain. I don't know. I've not had that as an experience to say that this is. I want to speak to your tech guy. No one's said
okay,
that to me.
but that's good then.
Yeah, yeah,
Because it also means that you've probably picked out the right investors to talk to and to pitch to.
yeah, but yeah, you have other challenges on the other side though. So like I'm almost pigeonholed as the tech person as
Huh?
opposed to all the other things that I can actually offer to the company. So as a part of my journey while I was doing it, I studied for my CFAs to understand the business side of it from
Yeah.
financial analysis, all of those types of things.
Hmm.
Didn't get it, but I studied for it, and I failed the exam miserably. But it did get the basic concepts of
Yeah,
how
there's a lot you pick up anyway.
like financial reporting,
Yeah.
etc. So it makes sense for me to pick up loads of those sides of things.
Hmm.
But it was like, well, why are you doing it? Why are you not doing CTO tech things? I'm like, well, I'm a founder. I'm not just a CTO. I'm also, that's why I put it in my title. I'm a co-founder and a CTO. Everyone has to pitch in to get the business to run. If you've got a certain skill in something, do it, use
Yeah.
it. There's no point pigeonholing people into one thing or the other.
No. True. Um, you also have a very diverse team that you work with. So there's a male co-founder, of course, um, but also the other people who work in the company. It's quite, from what I saw on LinkedIn, it's quite diverse. Did you do that on purpose?
When you're small,
Yeah.
you don't have the luxury of just saying you're always going to hire the best person for the job, and
Yeah.
you have to. You've got a limited amount of budget,
Yeah.
and so as much as you want to have it, but for us, we're really fortunate that the people that are best for the job, a lot of them are women. And and that's the way I look at it. It's got nothing. I didn't say I'm going to hire a woman. I said I'm going to hire the best person for the job,
Hmm.
and women are equally as good, if not better, in some cases, depending on what it is. And some cases, like yeah, my male colleagues are better at something.
Yeah.
It is what it is. I'm not gonna like if I don't like it, if someone pigeonholes me, I'm not gonna do it in return. But I'm
Mm.
always gonna want the best person for the job.
Yeah.
And do I broaden the search around it? I try not to have those biases, etc. around it,
Hmm.
but it's always going to be pick the best person for the job, and that's the only way we're going to be able to survive as a survival comes in first before
Yeah.
you do it. Like yeah, I want,
Yeah.
really want this, but I've been super lucky that I've had other women that want to work with me.
Yeah. That's indeed really good. Um, as I said, you're the first female CTO on the podcast. How can we get more women to assume these roles? And
So,
more broadly speaking, can we get more women into tech?
so I've got two daughters,
Uh,
and my eldest has done her they're called GCSEs in the UK, which is the like 16-year-old exams, and then before you do 2 years and then you go to university.
yeah,
She did computer science. I was like, your mum's like you're going to need computing irrespective, wherever, whatever
yeah.
you're doing, you're going to need to do it. You need to understand computers. They're going to be a part of your life forever, whatever job you're going to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so she went off and did it, and she hates it. Absolutely hates it. She's like, I just don't want to do this.
Yeah.
And I was like, she's been exposed to so many amazing things. She's seen what I'm doing, what other women in the industry are doing. She's like, it's just not for me. She's a woman in STEM, so,
Yeah.
so she's gone for maths and physics as well, like the ways that she wants to go.
Mm-hmm.
But she goes, it was the worst thing, and part of it's got to be around syllabus, etc. So trying to get younger girls into it, the notion of it, that this is, I can only say from what I understand from that interaction that we got with girls here. She goes, there's
Yeah.
not many girls in the class to start with, but secondly, the topic is it's memorize what RAM means and those things, as opposed to what can you use computing for. So I almost feel like instead of having computer science as a subject as kids are younger, is actually inspiring them with things that what can you do instead of like
So the
zeros and
more
ones.
practical side, let's
The
say,
practical
how can you apply it, and do you need? Should you use it?
Yeah, and then having some modules to talk about like programming, etc., and building those sort of skills, which they do even before they do their GCSEs, but
Mm-hmm.
really being able to put it in practical use so they can come up with it. A friend of mine does. He mentors young women,
Mm-hmm.
school between 12 and 18,
Yeah.
to get them into artificial intelligence. And he started with one girl, and I
Mm-hmm.
love the story that he's got such a great story because he started with one girl. Second year there was three girls. The next year he had nine girls, and now he's got a wait list of girls that want to actually work with him. So I think they got to a point where they were doing a forum of 90 girls at one point for him. And he said, but it was practical uses. And one of the things which was phenomenal, and what they were doing was they had an idea, so they had to pitch ideas and how practical uses of AI.
Mm-hmm.
And they were saying, well, they've seen their moms, etc., struggling with like managing their children, etc. So they come up with an idea to create an AI app
Uh-huh.
that can listen to your child, their younger children, read. So reading is one of the things
Yeah.
that parents that will do with their kids, etc. Read to the computer, and where you mispronounce words, the computer tells you that this is the right word, and basically simulates what the parent does when. But they can do this more often.
Yeah.
And I just thought, okay, they did the app go live. I have no idea. There were children like pitching this. I thought, but I just thought, what a wonderful idea, and how
Mm-hmm.
you're
Yeah.
really like, and these they were driving more and more women into it, and I'm just thinking, how do you do that more and more and at scale, where you fall in love with the idea of working with tech? Tech is amazing. We can do so much with it. How do you actually get the girls to actually love it, as opposed to say, I come out like my kid did and said, I absolutely hated it. It was boring. It's boring. I don't understand why I need to know half of this stuff when she probably doesn't. If you're going to be interacting with tech, you don't need that side of it as
No.
much. Or if you then decide that you want to learn more, then it makes sense to have that foundation layer to be able to say, okay, here are all the things that what IMAP and all of those
Is it
things.
approached to academically then? So you first need to build a foundation, and then only then you can start applying it. Whereas we should reverse it. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
I feel that would, for the generation that are here, but if you look in like places like India, it's
Hmm.
so normal. So many women are in tech.
Yeah.
They've got the balance right already. There are so many women in tech, and it's worth understanding. Well, what did they do
Hmm.
to actually get that quota? I mean, still might not be as many as men, but there is a huge number of female developers out in India. And when
Yeah.
we look at there, we tend to get a lot of CVs from women as well.
Hmm.
So it's yeah. So my what I think is I've got no evidence, no science to say this is how but this is just an opinion. I think that
Yeah,
this might be not a way to do it in the UK with a different audience, but India's already doing it.
yeah, yeah. But and India is also what I heard from two other guests is that in Asia, IT and tech is more sold, quote unquote, sold to girls as okay, that's job security.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
And the only security or the only certainty I would say we have is that the computers are going to be around
Yeah, absolutely. The computers are
in our
definitely
lifetimes and probably the lifetimes of many people after us.
yeah. So I would get on board. But it's amazing what you can do with it. So for me, I find it an alien concept. Why wouldn't you? But I went into computing at a later date. I didn't start. I didn't do it at school. I picked it at university. It was a little bit random, if anything, the way I ended up getting into computer science.
Uh-huh.
I can use a computer. I'll be okay at this.
Hmm.
Really, really silly way of doing it. Like I look at how focused my kids were, and I was just like, well, I wanted to do something, and I think, well, I don't really know what I want to do with my life. I'm pretty good with computers. Why don't I try that? And that was sort of my mentality towards it. Yeah, again, even then, I was thinking, well, computers, yeah, they're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
It feels like from getting a career perspective, it seems like a pretty decent way to go. And that was my sort of foray into it. But as soon as I did, and I really started to
Did you,
understand it.
by the way, were you encouraged in any way by your parents or discouraged, maybe?
No, no, no. I've got to say, so my parents, so my dad's not educated, so he used to say is make sure you study. Don't work like I've had to work. Make
Hmm.
sure you do a job that was just he said it's so much hard work. It's so much harder when you're not educated. Make sure you're educated, and that was the degree of what because he didn't know he
Yeah.
couldn't even give me an idea of where to go, but he is entrepreneurial. That's something I definitely haven't got from my dad.
Hmm.
Yeah, his was different in terms of he built and sold shops like grocery
Hmm.
shops, etc., and built them up, built the revenue up, and then sold them. That was his model, and that's what he
Yeah.
did as a job.
Okay. Well, that's also good because it needs to happen. But did you have any other role models?
Do you know what the role models I had, because there weren't that many women, were
No.
men. They were
Yeah.
men. I don't think I need to see another woman do what I'm doing. I'm going to take inspiration from everyone and anyone, because that's the way you open your eyes and see what other people are doing.
Yeah.
And if there's somebody that's doing something and they're doing a really good job at it. So I remember one of the guys I used to work with, one of the technical leads that I had, and
Hmm.
the way that he problem solved and saw things, it was like the Matrix. He was such a smart guy. I had the pleasure of working with him again,
Yeah.
but he really inspired me to say, like, actually think of things differently. So where I just say, oh, I can't do something, and this is
Mm.
like right at the beginning of my career, and he was like, of course you can do it. Tech, we can do anything with tech. We were able to send spacecraft that's touching interstellar space. He goes,
Yeah.
if you can do that with tech, you can solve this one thing.
Yeah.
And the way he just looked at technology to say, you can do anything you want with it. Now apply your mind to it and think about it instead of saying I can't do it. So inspirational. It really, I'm still friends with him today because just of the way that he sort of thought of things and opened my eyes to it. So that to me was a role model because it was what I aspired to be like. That's how I want to be, and that I want to be the
Yeah.
best at my job. I want to do these things as well. So
But
I think,
is it also one of your purposes to inspire other women to go into tech?
yeah, absolutely, because there isn't enough of it. And again, women come with other skills as well, right?
Yeah.
And you look back in the 40s, etc. It was mainly women that were doing the computer science, while people, the
Yeah,
men were at war. So it's not like they're not, but you want a diverse. Every company says diversity is what makes your team successful.
yeah,
So yeah, having skills from different types of people, different like walks of life. Women is the easiest one to target because it is you're 50 over 50% of the population. Yeah, let's
yeah,
start with the first one. Yeah, get that diversity in first before you start thinking of different other parts of it. Let's start with the biggest group to start with and get them
yeah.
into it.
Yeah, that's probably also the easiest step because there's enough women who actually want to go into tech, I think.
Yeah, so a lot of a lot of friends of mine later on, like, after they've done their studies, gone to like code camps, and those things are amazing as well because they are giving you the practical things. So women are going into the industry, but later after they've done different studies or they've worked in
Mhm.
the industry, and then they're retraining to do it. And they're teaching you how to actually get a job. So those initiatives are really cool as well. I've got to say that it's amazing to see what people are doing to actually encourage a broader, diverse group into tech because tech is huge.
Yeah,
And it is going to be everywhere, and it is everywhere.
it is. Thank you. Great insight so far, Sonal. I have an arrangement with Jacqueline van den Ende. She's a previous guest and co-founder of an investment firm called Carbon Equity. They invest in a better climate, or rather, they help high net worth individuals invest in a better climate. And when we recorded the podcast, she told me, well, your podcast has to be obsolete in 10 years from now, which is by the end of 2032. Um, any
Uh,
advice on what needs to happen to make my podcast obsolete and make women in tech, well, let's say a normal thing?
good question. I think that the industry is doing a lot. It's one of the things that again, going back to an example with my daughters, uh, companies like Dyson, Amazon, everyone got together to get more like so they're taking girls from school to actually get them in more into STEM, and
Hmm.
they had projects, real life projects that say how do we solve these sort of problems, and they were going off to do that. I'd love to see more of those sort of initiatives. My kid came out of it. It was over a period of about 6 7 weeks, but she came out thinking differently. Considering she hated computer science,
Yeah,
she's open to like thinking about AI, etc. Because she's already been around people that inspired them to do things like that. But it always it helps them with their CVs, etc. So the larger companies can be doing more.
yeah,
And I believe that because the kids are that they already know them, they're brand recognized, etc. And they're I worked with Dyson and I worked with AWS, and
yeah,
and it looks great on their CV. She's 16 years old, and
yeah,
she's getting FaceTime with these large organizations, and it was really exciting for her to be able to do this. And she presented in front of them, and it was a really special thing for her. But again, to see other kids, and they only picked a handful of kids from schools to actually go and do this. I'd
hmm,
love to see more initiatives like that because that is what's going to drive this adoption and more women actually wanting to get into the industry.
yeah. And also, again, making it practically applicable.
Yeah, absolutely. So hers was like coming up with a solution around solving for pollution in smaller areas. So and it was fully engineering based,
Uh-huh.
and they had to do the research to understand what's out there now and what can they use, and what are the dangers of doing it in one way versus the other. And it was very scientific in the approach that they did it. It was
Yeah,
really it was fascinating for me to watch what she was doing. It was really interesting as a project.
uh-huh. Yeah. So more of those projects
More of
from.
those projects because they were really inspiring. Yeah,
Uh,
the way you're going to do it is by inspiring people to do this. You're going to be able to get numbers up from other mechanisms, but it should be. It's a beautiful industry. You've got amazing people in there. It should be something that more women should be wanting to be drawn to. And the only way you're going to draw people into it is making things like that happen for them,
Yeah.
so they can see it for themselves, that it's not this nerdy guy that's going to be teaching you. It's not that. It's something completely different. It's not what it looks like. It is something amazing.
So tech has a branding problem.
Tech definitely has a branding problem. It's being able to sell yourself as a techie, etc. All of those things don't come naturally to the industry, but it is. And
Huh?
what you're doing is bringing awareness to this. It's an amazing industry with the best people and the smartest people and the funniest people as well. The I think I've got the best friends from the industry,
Mhm.
and they are hilarious. It just Everything works for me, and I wish other women could see the same.
Sounds like a great place to wrap. Thank you, Sonal, for
You're
this
welcome.
wonderful conversation. If people want to learn more about eXate and about you, where would you like to send them?
So we've got our website. We can be found at www.eXate.com. But also find me on LinkedIn, and I'm always happy to help.
Well, that's it for this episode. Thank you for listening to episode 59 of Women Disrupting Tech with Sonal Rattan on how to make data privacy, security, and compliance easy. Sonal and I hope that you've enjoyed our conversation as much as we did, and if you'd like to learn more about Sonal and EXate, feel free to connect with her via the links in the show notes. As usual, you can find the show notes at womendisruptingtech.blog. There you can also find the entire archive of episodes, as well as blogs, show notes, and bios of all the guests that I have had on the podcast. If you are looking for a role model to inspire your own hero's journey in tech, please check out one of the 50 plus other episodes of this podcast on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. And if you are a regular listener, would you consider giving the show a rating or a review? That way, you help other people discover the podcast. Now, if you're a male ally and you want to help Sonal and the other women disrupting tech make this podcast obsolete by the end of 2032, there's a simple thing that you can do. Please share the podcast with friends, family, and coworkers because this way you give Sonal and my other guests the platform they need to make it happen. Finally, if you want to connect with me, you can reach me via Dirkjan at womendisruptingtech.blog or via the DMs on LinkedIn. Just look up my name and you'll find me there. With that, I wish you a wonderful day. I hope to see you in the next episode. And in the meantime, keep being awesome.